Tesla isn't just some automaker that's making electric cars for young millennials. It's a tech company that's using electricity to further the future for other industries. So you got to think of it like that. If you think of, all right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about Tesla. And if you haven't heard the news, or you don't have friends that are into investing, or if you're just living under a rock, Tesla stock is booming. And I'm just going to say a disclaimer right now. I don't own a Tesla vehicle. I wish I did, but I do own Tesla stock. I invested it in mid 2018 when I first got my job. I just wanted to discuss my thoughts on Tesla. I'm not some type of financial guru or anything like that, but I just want to give my personal thoughts on why I initially invested in Tesla, and not really, I mean, obviously I wanted to make money, but I wasn't expecting to make this much money that the stock is performing at now. So like I said, I don't own the car, but I am an investor. So just gonna give a little background on how I got into Tesla. I first found out about SpaceX and the company, of how it was trying to deploy rockets and also come back down safely. I thought that was a really cool idea. And then from there, I found out that the CEO was Elon Musk, and I watched some of his presentations, and I thought it seemed like he was a pretty genuine guy when he was presenting his material. And then I later found out about Tesla, the car company, and then I was like, oh wow, Elon actually is the CEO of Tesla. And then I found out about the Model S, and then I was like, wow, this car is really cool, it's all electric. I eventually went to sign up, do a test drive while I was in college. I'm surprised they let me even test drive that car. They gave me the P100D, and that car was amazing, honestly. To this day, it's still probably one of the best cars I've ever driven. And I'm not some type of car what do they call it? Car head guy, car enthusiast. But when I drove that car, even the autopilot, everything just seemed really well put together. And just the whole idea of it being electric, never having gone back to the gas station, I thought just the whole concept of electric car was like, this needs to be happening right now. Why isn't everyone talking about it? So going back, I remember I went to a wedding in Canada, and the week that I went there, it was actually one of the nights that the Model 3 was going to be announced. And I was telling both my parents, like, hey, you gotta watch this event with me. This is pretty important. At least to me, it was pretty important. I think the whole world can now see that it was a pretty important event of the Model 3 revealing, and how it was going to be the more affordable car for the masses. And once it was announced, I mean, $35,000, I was still in college. I was like, wow, that's actually still a lot of money. But now that I'm actually working and seeing young adults and their professionals and how much they're making, $35,000 actually isn't too bad. I still think it's a little bit for a car, but my expectations, I guess, were just way too high. I was expecting it to be like 20-something thousand, but for what it is, people are still buying the car like crazy. And even the night it was announced, there was $250,000 orders for the Model 3. And just to put this in perspective, people were pre-ordering a car that they haven't driven yet. I don't know if there's any other automaker who has offered a car for a pre-order and not have it be released yet in, let's say, 1 to 2 years without you even knowing the performance of the car. So good on Tesla and Elon for announcing that and having the dedication. Also, I want to give a shout out to all the engineers at Tesla and just all the employees in general. They don't get enough praise for what they do. I know it's Elon that's at the head of it, but I also want to give recognition to everyone working at Tesla. And I'm just glad throughout all their hard work, they actually made the dream or the mission of Tesla come into fruition. And now it just seems like everyone's talking about Tesla nowadays. So back then I wasn't that big on investing, but I knew my mom was really financially conscious about things. I told her, listen, if there's anything you want to invest in, you have to look into Tesla, please. Out of all the companies that I usually never recommend her a company, but I was like, listen, you've got to look at this company and invest in it. And to my surprise, she didn't really even care about Tesla itself. She seemed to have a big dislike on Elon, and I found that to be like a pretty common trend whenever I would bring up Tesla. People would be like, oh, I don't really like Elon. And to me, I'm just like, how can you not like Elon? Like, to me, Elon is a guy that just wants to make the world a better place. It doesn't really seem like he's doing anything, like it doesn't seem like his priority is to make money. It seems like his priority is to make the world a better place, and money just comes with it. Like he doesn't really have that ego personality that all I want to do is make a lot of money and shortchange people. And I feel like that's what people think Elon is, like some type of con artist. But if you watch his not his presentations, but if you just watch his interviews, he's a guy that really cares about humanity and making it a better place. So, like I said, I don't know why Elon gets so much dislike from the people I talk to. I think he's generally a good guy. I don't see any bad in him at all. I mean, I haven't personally met the guy. If you met him and he's a bad person, then, you know, that sucks. But I'm just saying, from what I've seen online and the interviews I've watched, he seems like a pretty open, carefree guy that just speaks his mind, which I would say most CEOs don't do nowadays. Some of the big tech giants, they like to be pretty political on the way they talk, and Elon's just like rambling whatever's going on in his mind. So going back to telling my mom about Tesla, I was trying to tell her that you can't think of Tesla as a car company. And I think that's what most people misunderstood a couple years ago, that Tesla is not just a car company. It's an electric tech company. They have their gigafactory, they have their solar city, their solar panels, their car. If you look at Tesla as a whole, it's electrifying the world using renewable resources any way they can. And just, you have to realize that, so originally Tesla was called Tesla Motors, and then eventually it was changed to Tesla Incorporation. And that should have been a sign to people that, hey, Tesla isn't just some automaker that's making electric cars for young millennials. It's a tech company that's using electricity to further the future for other industries. So you got to think of it like that. If you think of Tesla like that, they have a vision. And once you see the vision, it's kind of hard not to jump on board, because us right now using these non-renewable energies and it's affecting the planet, it's only right now, it's a common trend to be using renewable resources to try and preserve the planet as long as you can. And obviously people are going to jump on the bandwagon right now just because the stock is surging really high. So going back to my mom, telling her about Tesla, I was trying to tell her that Tesla is, for one, Tesla is more than a car company, and Tesla is just so far ahead in terms of infrastructure compared to other auto manufacturers that their name brand isn't going to hold up when people want to look up the actual value of a car. Like right now, the Model S has 373 miles of range, but so a better one would probably to compare would be the Model X, has like 320 miles of range. But if you look at the Audi e-tron, it only has around 200 miles of range. If you look at them comparatively and just look at the value, you're going to go with the one with the higher range. You're not going to go with, oh, this is an Audi, it's a luxury car, it's a name brand, I want to get this car instead. It just doesn't make sense at that point. And even the infrastructure, the supercharging network, Tesla has that, at least in America and I would say Western Europe. It's a pretty good network. I mean, it's not like gas stations yet, but you can pretty much go anywhere in the country. And like I said, I've never personally owned a Tesla. I do see that people have complaints, especially in California, how there's like lines to get into a supercharging station. But where I live, whenever I drive past the Tesla charging station, there's almost never any, there's no line to charge your car, is basically what I'm trying to say. And even when you want to go shopping, let's say Whole Foods or some other place that has some charging, you can charge your car while you do your shopping or while you're eating. After graduating college, I got a job, and I decided to put my money where my mouth was. And I decided to use the app called Stash, and I invested some money into Tesla as well as some other investments. And at the time, Tesla was around like $315, and I would always hang out at the mall at the Tesla showroom, I guess. It's not the actual like Tesla retail retail store where they actually let you test drive the car. It's just like, it's a showroom of their 3 cars that they have there. And I'll always just talk to the Tesla employees, talk about like the technology in their car, who's buying their car. And it got to a point where before the Model 3 even came out to be test driven, a Tesla employee hooked me up and I was able to drive the Model 3 Performance Edition 6 weeks before anyone else. And I drove the car and it was the driving dynamics were really good, but I was kind of, the interior for me was a little bland, but I think I would eventually just get used to it just from everything being on the screen. And it's like, you don't really need to care about all the other buttons around you. You just need to worry about your screen and driving, and the driving is more or less taken care for you. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the main points. I've kind of touched on them previously before, but I'm just going to do like a quick recap. It'll be a little bit more comprehensive. So the first thing is vision. I think what's really carrying Tesla forward compared to all the other auto manufacturers, or whatever you want to say Tesla's competitor is their vision. And their vision is making people's lives easier, not only through electricity, but with technology as well. And I know there's a lot of initiatives for these other car manufacturers to start their EV program in it'll start in like 2022, or it goes all the way up to 2030. And it's like, by the time we get to those years, Tesla's their infrastructure is just going to keep on improving over that time, and people are going to prefer a more fleshed out infrastructure rather than like your name brand. So since the success of Model 3, it does seem like car manufacturers are now scrambling because they didn't realize, oh, the electric car is actually something people really want, and people are actually paying a decent premium for them. And now that people are buying the Model 3, when people get older, they'll be like, oh, well, I'm just going to transition to a Model S because it's obviously the more luxury version of my Model 3. Or maybe people are just going to keep their Model 3 forever. But the main thing is that now Tesla has, first of all, taken a customer away from their car manufacturers, and they're now getting customer retention, which is only going to improve their profit over time. And I guess car manufacturers in the last couple of years were just trying to implement plug-in hybrids because it makes it seem like you're being electric, but it's either you're all electric or you're not. But now that you're trying to combine the two, it's not going to be it's going to be effective, but it's not what people really want. And now moving on to my next point, kind of said it before, is the infrastructure and the supercharging network. Infrastructure that Tesla has is, I would say, second to none compared to other car manufacturers. And if you want to make a battery, these car manufacturers have underestimated that to develop a battery and optimize it through software is a lot harder than they thought it would be. And now they're trying to outsource their car batteries, and they're realizing that it's not as effective as Tesla. And now it's like, do we want to waste these multi-million dollars, sometimes $1 billion of research to try and get a subpar battery in-house, or are we going to outsource a subpar battery? So it's like, what can these other car manufacturers do? And like I said earlier before, when it comes to range anxiety, are you going to go with the Audi e-tron that has about 200 miles of range, or are you going to go with the Model X that has its own autopilot system and it has well over 100 more miles than the e-tron? And I think that's one of the biggest things that people are scared about when it comes to electric vehicles. And like I said, I don't own a Tesla, but I don't think I would have range anxiety if I'm driving a Tesla. But with other cars, I would, just because of that supercharging network. And moving on to my final point, I addressed it at the very beginning. It is Elon. And I don't understand how people could hate this man, especially in America. He's making an American company, and we are a pretty patriotic country. And it seems that whatever Elon tries to do with Tesla, people are just trying to knock him down. And to me, it just doesn't make sense. Like, he was making a luxury car initially, and then he's making a mass-produced car for the masses, and people just continue to just hate this man and his company, and it doesn't make sense to me. And he's creating cleaner cars that can drive themselves to a certain extent, with the driver still paying attention, because it's not fully autonomous. But his tweets can be a little, I don't know if I should like this or retweet it, but it just seems like he's just being a genuine dude. He's not hiding anything, and I think that's why people feel like they can really relate to Elon compared to all the other CEO tech giants or even car manufacturers. It's like, I don't even know the CEO of any other car manufacturer. That could just be me not being a car enthusiast, but there's no one with like a louder voice that I know from the car manufacturer industry other than Tesla. And you can't knock him for like his presentation. He says or he's kind of like doing like this where he's like he's losing his words when he's talking, but it's like he's just not everyone's a natural presenter, and I feel like when he does that, he makes himself even more relatable, like I said, because not everyone's good at presenting. Like, I don't think I'm that good at presentation, but when I watch Elon, it's like, oh, this guy has like a multi-billion-dollar company, and he presents just like me. It's like, it makes me realize like he's just human. He's not some type of super CEO that can't be touched and is completely unrelatable. And it's like, time and time again, it seems that people are, especially financial institutions, are saying that Tesla's not going to meet this certain milestone, or Tesla's not going to meet this report. And it seems like time and time again, Elon has delivered. And every time he delivers, it seems like his hate sort of starts to get smaller. And his fans and his supporters get bigger and bigger and bigger, because it's like, if you are proving people wrong, it's really hard for them to say, okay, yeah, you can't do that, because you actually proved that you can in fact do that. Okay, I will admit that there are some things that haven't been delivered. Full self-driving, I know he keeps talking about that. For people who have that car and purchased it, I'm super sorry. I would have not made that choice myself, but he says it's coming. The taxi thing, he says it's coming, but there's this running joke that what Elon says in terms of time is Elon's time, not the rest of the world's time. So sorry about that in terms of promises. But the Model Y was set to have production start at the end of 2020 and even beginning of 2021. And I just looked on the website, and delivery for the Model Y is starting next month, March 2020. That's 9 months in advance. And it's like, who would have guessed that? No one would have thought that Tesla would have had the Model Y made so quickly. And he's really ambitious about his statements. He made his his factory in Shanghai, China, and he made that in less than a year. Like, he almost feels unstoppable. I don't say him, his company Tesla feels unstoppable. And the more Tesla gets ahead, the harder it is for these other car manufacturers to keep up. And another thing I want to say about the cars themselves, long-term goal for mine is to have a Model S. I like the Model 3, but in terms of the interior, there's not that much. I'd probably get used to it, but long-term, I would definitely want the Model S. But what is really good about the Tesla cars is the over-the-air updates. And they're just changing the game of how your car is being used day to day. And I think that's another big selling point of what people are starting to realize in Tesla. It's like, the car you bought a year ago or 2 years ago is not the same car that you drive today. It's like when you buy a smartphone. It's like, would you rather buy a phone that when you buy it, you are on the same software for the rest of the duration you have that phone, or you buy a smartphone that constantly gets updates every 6 months and gets better over time? But you're gonna have to pay, let's say, $200 more for this device. Obviously, you're going to pay for the one that's going to have more updates over time and improve over time, because why would you want to just sit in the past for X amount of years? To me, that just doesn't make sense. And I like what Tesla's doing with the over-the-air updates over cars. It really does help their resale value, because, like I said, the car you bought 2 years ago is not the same car that you're driving today. And that, I think that's really important. And you basically get those software updates forever, because the hardware is always going to be good. Like in phones nowadays, the hardware in phones are really good. What separates the phones and I would say the cars now is the software. If the software and the technology is good, the hardware, it comes second. They basically want to showcase to all global legacy automakers. I mean, I don't want to say legacy, but just all other automakers, that they've been stagnant in the last, I mean, I'm still pretty young, I'm a millennial, but in the last years that it's been stagnant, to say the least. Yes, in terms of technology inside the car, it's been good, but in terms of the car itself and the way the car is supposed to function, the electricity, the autopilot, the technology inside, it's just a different experience when it comes to driving a Tesla and driving all these other cars. And like I said, he's not competing to just the American population. He's competing to a global market, which when people realize that it's a global market, prices are going to go up in terms of the stock. When it was finally announced in 2016, when I was staring at my phone screen rather than trying to get ready for this wedding or picking out clothes to wear for the wedding the next day, 325,000 people. Did I say that right? 325,000 people. Yeah, I said that right. Pre-ordered the car. And let me say that again. 325,000 people pre-ordered a car they haven't even driven yet. That's how much people believed in the company back in 2016. These are the people that realized that Tesla is more than a car company. And yeah, I know that like 60 or 70% of people cancel their pre-orders just from just a whole slew of things. They have their whole panel gap issue, paint job defects, because people were like, oh, if I'm paying $50,000, $60,000 for this car, I'd expect it to be in perfect condition. Like I said, I'm not a car enthusiast. Panel gaps would probably get me a little mad. Paint defects, if it's not terrible, I wouldn't really care, because it's like, I'm not spending my time on the outside of the car, I'm spending my time on the inside. So if the panel gaps actually make some type of difference with the car, make it more unsafe, then yeah, I would complain about that. But the paint, it's like, whatever. It's like, I don't know. People just find something to complain about nowadays. Elon is improving himself over time. Like, he's discovering new ways of himself that people have never seen. Like, he was smoking weed on Joe Rogan. He was dancing in China. And people thought that was funny. And it's like, he's just discovering himself. And I think that's why people really like Elon. After the Cybertruck was announced, guess what happened to the stock? It went up, and people were shocked. And to be honest, I was shocked a little bit too, because I thought stock was going to go down because of how jarring the car was. But obviously, people saw value in that car. Feasible track, all the people trying to flex on social media. I think people genuinely found value in that car. And so now I'm going to quote some people, people that are definitely way better than me in this field. So there's a guy named Ron Barron. And he says that Tesla can make $1 trillion in revenue in the next 10 years. And $1 trillion is a lot of money. Like, I wrote out all the zeros, and I'm just like, that's a lot of money. And that's revenue. That's a lot of money for revenue. So I think that's an ambitious statement. Like, I can't even spend $100 eating out. But making $1 trillion, I can't even fathom that. People believe that Tesla is in a bubble, sort of like the Bitcoin craze that was going on. People are getting the FOMO, the fear of missing out. And I remember I was in school when Bitcoin was exploding, and there would just be days where I was just staring at Bitcoin increase. I'm just like, wow, this is still going. Go to sleep, wake up next day, look at it. Wow, it's still going. Sleep, wake up, next day, look at it. Wow, it is. I can't even buy a share. It's that expensive. And it's like, I don't understand how people are throwing millions of dollars. But like I said, it's the fear of missing out. And I feel like that's sort of what's happening right now with Tesla. But people, it's tangible. People can actually see the benefits of the company. And there is a ARK Investment Management company, and the CEO, Catherine Wood, said that initially she believed that Tesla was going to have the shares be worth $4,000 per share in the next 5 years. And she later changed that to $6,000. And it's just showing people, I mean, these are all predictions. I don't know, but for her saying that, it's just like, it's just wow. If it could actually get that high, I'd be coasting the money. But you know, like I want a private jet and I want to watch anime on it wherever I go. But you know, who knows? And you know, that's the whole point. The whole point that I'm trying to make is that nobody really knows. Like Ron Barron, if Tesla makes $1 trillion in revenue, who knows? Catherine Wood, if the shares go up to 4,000, 6,000 per share, who knows? Really, it can go either way. So that's basically the whole point I'm trying to make. There's both sides of predictions. There's people that think Tesla's going to be really successful. People that think Tesla's going to fail. People that think Tesla's going to fail, I think you should probably do your research a little bit more. Like I'm not biased, but it's hard for me to believe that Tesla's going to fail. Are they overvalued? I'm not a financial person. The cost of the shares are getting pretty expensive for me to buy. I don't know if that means that they're overvalued, but the companies I invest in, I always think of their vision. If the company's mission statement and their vision is the future, like they're not just trying to be good now, they're thinking about how to be good 10 years from now in the present. And that's why I really enjoy investing in Tesla and seeing them grow, because they're just doing what their company is set out to do. They're not trying to put on the face, or like these other car manufacturers, like, oh, everyone else is doing electric vehicles, oh, let's start doing electric vehicles. It's like, no, Tesla wanted to make electric vehicles back in the day, and they built their infrastructure back in the day. In the present day now, it's like whenever people drive the car now, they're like, oh wow, this car is futuristic. And it's like, this car has been out since 2012, the Model S. It's been out for 8 years. And if you think about it, if you drove that car in 2012, you'd be like, wow, this car is the future. And people are saying that today still. So, and the company is doing, when you think about it, the company is doing good for the planet and humanity as well. And I think people really want to relate to that nowadays, because now people are talking about climate change, the world is about to collapse, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you just gotta support companies like that. When people want to go buy a car and they say, oh, I want to buy this car. And I'm like, how much? And they're gonna be like, oh, I want to spend about like $30,000. I'm like, just save up your money and get a Tesla. Like, there's no point. Once you're spending like $30,000, $40,000, you might as well just get a Tesla. There's no point in looking at any other car. And Tesla and Elon are really leveraging the power of social media. I think that's what's also really important. They're not. I watched the Super Bowl on Sunday, and not gonna lie, I fell asleep. So many commercials rather than the game. And there was a lot of car videos or car commercials, but not a single one was Tesla. Because Tesla knows, like, they don't need to spend millions of dollars to showcase their car. Elon's using the power of social media, and nothing shares faster than social media nowadays. And I think car manufacturers need to realize that. Like, there's plenty of people that watch TV, but I would say there's a bigger market that they're not utilizing, which is social media. And, you know, I'm not a venture capitalist. I don't even have $100,000 to my name, but I'm a firm believer that EVs are the future. It's inevitable. Even the economy knows that EVs are the future. There's governments mandating that car manufacturers start making cars electric by 2025, 2030 in the future. No more ICE cars. So it only makes getting EVs more attractive, and the leading company right now is Tesla, and that's why the spotlight is on them. Those are my thoughts on the Tesla stock surging. One other thing I want to talk about is my mom. So she actually bought a Mercedes, and when I went back home, I scheduled a test drive to Tesla, and she test drove the Model S, and when she was driving it, she said, I should have listened to you. I wish I should have bought this car. And I was like, in that moment, I'm like, you just got to give the car a chance. It's definitely a car you have to drive to understand how good it actually is. And I think right now Tesla truly has no other competitor in the next few years. And if they continue to improve at the rate that they're doing now, the gap is only going to get bigger, and they're going to have no competitor in the future. Not in the future. I'd say the next 5 to 10 years, there's not going to be a true competitor to Tesla. But who knows? Like I said in the video, or like I said previously, it's like no one really knows. We all just hope for the best. So leave a like if you thought the video was good. This was really just like off the top of my head. Tesla stock is booming. I'm doing pretty good. If you invest in Tesla, I hope you're doing really well. Oh yeah, my mom actually did invest in Tesla, but pulled out when it went to a dip. That was around like $200. Wow. Anyway, subscribe if you already haven't. There's going to be more content coming. I really need to hit that 1,000 sub to get YouTube partnered, but like the video if you liked it. Dislike it if you hate it. That's it. Tesla. Vroom vroom. Vroom vroom. Vroom vroom. Vroom vroom.